I'm a huge fan of folds. Einstein Rosenbridges, Sharpays, origami, totemo omoshiroi. But what about Z Folds? AT&T sent me Samsung's new Z Fold 4 to review, and I have to say that I was quite curious about what part this phone would play in my daily carry workflow. It's compact when you need it, but brings that big screen energy when you need something more robust. But that robusto comes at a hefty price, and for me, that means it better, in the words of Bruce Lee, be like water, my friend, and fit into the majority of my work and play needs. Movie watching, music enjoyment, and gaming. Beach trips, yeah, I live in SoCal, so beach trip resilience is important. And let's be honest, there were some unhappy fans where the cameras were concerned with the last generation of folds. So I tested the Fold 4 against the S22 Ultra's cameras. My notes, thoughts, camera and video comparisons, all up after the intro. Let's go. Instead of dumping specs on you here, I'll point you to our written review over on the site in the description below. I want to get right to my experiences with this device, and I will weave some spec comparisons between this year's device over last year's, as well as the S22 Ultra I mentioned. So let's begin with productivity. One of the most important aspects of a device like this, whose full price is roughly $1,800, though you can get it much cheaper with all the discounts and trade-in offers, paying only $800 in some cases. This year's Fold 4 has more screen due to smaller bezels and a smaller hinge while maintaining the same size as the Fold 3. And this is the first Android device in the US to ship with Android 12L, which is a version of Android maximized for larger screen devices like this one and tablets. And for me, that really is the heart of my experience on the Z Fold 4. Let's face it, Android's Achilles heel is tablets and larger size screens. Google has relied on manufacturers to customize their overlays, but has really done little to create a standout large format experience. But today, I get a taskbar at the bottom of my Z Fold 4, which allows me to launch apps without having to go to Fast App Switcher or close the app I'm currently in. I can simply tap on an app in the taskbar or bring up the app drawer. And if I want to get into some multitasking action, split screening, I can simply tap and hold, then drag and drop. Et voila. Really easy, really simple, and I get functionality worthy of a device like this. You can also drag and drop, by the way, apps into the taskbar. Really simple.
But wait, there's more.
Jump into Microsoft Outlook, one of my favorite email apps. I use it on both Android and iOS for my Exchange accounts. It definitely looks good on this big screen with a reading pane on the right and my messages pane on the left with the ability to resize. But if you're reading a message where someone has asked you multiple questions and you need to respond, now you can do one of two things. You can either tap and hold the new message button, then choose new message in another window, or you can hit reply, then tap on the dual pane button to open your reply in a split screen window next to the original message. Easy and intuitive. And that doesn't even get into the customizations that Samsung has added to the experience in One UI 4.1.1 on the Fold 4. For those of you who communicate quite a bit through Facebook, you'll get that optimized so that you have Facebook on one side of the screen with Messenger on the other. Now, you can, of course, use the pop-up window feature and window up that screen to your heart's content, and in some cases, 3 or 4 windows for a quick task may make sense. So your mileage may vary. The one caveat to this experience, though, is that if you start an app on the cover screen, it may not be available to you transitioning to the larger display. While many apps are optimized so you can go between screens, there are some developers who need to update their apps to allow for you to seamlessly transition between the two. One of the things which has helped me with productivity is the OEM Samsung case here, which allows me to use an S Pen holder or a kickstand with this device. Really like this case. I find that I get much more mileage out of the kickstand, but I keep the S Pen holder in my backpack and can switch out if needed. And you know what else I could switch up? Camera views. But we'll get to that in a moment. There were rumblings of folks who were dissatisfied with the optics in the Z Fold 3, and Samsung listened and stepped their game up with the camera hardware in the 4. Using the S22 Ultra, I went out and shot some photos to compare the two. Let's begin with night shots. I will say right off the bat that even in the A series cameras, Samsung has delivered consistently high quality night images, but you can tell the difference between those taken by their flagship devices and those in their entry and mid-range devices. These are the same cameras you got on the S22 and S22 Plus. No periscope lens like on the S22 Ultra. But we'll come back to that in a moment as well. I went to the Metro stop location I frequently shoot, and the results were impressive but expected. Palm fronds were detailed and not a blurry mess. Plenty of detail and texture. The wide angle was solid, and even at 3x and 10x the Fold 4 delivers. And what about a full or mostly full moon? The S22 versus the Z Fold 4. I'll tell you in the comments below which is which. But what about in the light of day? Here are some shots in daylight S22 Ultra versus Fold 4. The metalwork on these gates were really nice, so I took photos. As you can see, the Ultra and Fold 4 don't show any night and day differences here. A bit more detail on the Ultra's captures, but not enough for a double take. And these shoes, shot in portrait mode? Again, the images are pretty close in quality. Same goes for my Furbeast. The soft side of the camera system really shows in the front cameras though. This 4 megapixel under display camera is okay, but we're dealing with some processing and of course shooting through the display. The cover display camera fares better at 10 megapixels, but of course all of that is moot because you can use the rear cameras with the phone in cover display mode like I'm doing here. You can't see it because it's all on the back. I'm using the cover display. And now you can have the flexibility of using all 3 cameras to capture a selfie, or in the case of a group shot, your groupie ultra wide angle photo. But what about the rest of experience? Gaming and multimedia, battery life. One day in particular, I killed the battery in 17 hours, having it off the charger from midnight to 5 a.m. with an hour of streamed music, watching videos in my video test list, around a half hour or more of writing in Google Docs, checking social media accounts, and no phone calls. All on 5G in an area where I get sporadic signal on T-Mobile and Verizon. Fortunately, this is an AT&T review unit, and they put up a mini or micro site, I'm not sure which, but it isn't a full cell site, right across the street from my day job. So the signal is stronger, but I still see extra battery drain due to the spotty signal strength overall. And like I said, that's across all the carriers so far. Not as bad as other carriers who were actually better prior to new construction taking place next door. Developers putting up a huge luxury retail, luxury apartment mixed-use complex next door that significantly diminished all cell signal strength. When I was writing, I was using a Bluetooth keyboard, which I highly recommend if you're trying to get the most out of this device. I use this inexpensive compact foldable unit I got on Amazon from some brand called Jellycomb. Works great, and the typing experience is fine for short bursts. If you are going to type anything with some length, you're going to want to change the screen timeout. It'll drive you nuts if you have it set to 30 seconds like I did while writing portions of my Galaxy Watch 5 Pro review on it. Additionally, I do have the S Pen Pro that came with this case, so that helps me with productivity, signing NDAs and other docs, but the crease in the middle of the screen can get in the way if you're someone who doodles. I don't draw unless it's a card game or range day. One note here, on the S Pen, it can't be used with the cover screen, so no screen off notes on the Quick like the S22 Ultra or Note 20 Ultra. When I was gaming on this device, I used an Xbox One remote connected via Bluetooth and started with the phone at 82 degrees and 63% battery. I saw a 10-degree increase and 13% battery drain over 30 minutes. But even at 10 watts, this phone will charge to around 50% in a little over 30 minutes using my Aki 65-watt GAN charger. Rounding up that experience, Samsung and Google still haven't figured out this bit perfect issue because the phone will downsample any high-res audio files you have to 48 kilohertz unless you use a third-party app like USB audio player. So again, if you're getting the most out of this and streaming music or playing from local storage and you like your high-res files, your FLAC files or whatever, you'll need third-party software at a cost. But playing files directly through the phone's speakers sounded delightful. The speakers are far enough apart to deliver solid sound separation from songs on my high-res test playlist. Not room filling, mind you, but great sound at the distances you'll be listening from using a smartphone. Likewise, watching video content sounded great, but looked great as well. Yassier in the shadows on The Witcher was not washed out and had pretty solid black levels, and the color rendering looked pretty good. Surtur looked great in Thor Ragnarok, and the soundtrack was reproduced well. Now, one last note. Though Samsung has done a fine job of upgrading the durability of these devices to earn an IPX8 certification, if you're like me and spend a decent amount of time at the beach, that sand and dust ingress is definitely a concern to consider. IPX8 covers water ingress but does not cover dust, so this phone is not dust resistant. Just something to take note of if you live in desert environments like we do here in parts of California, or places like Arizona and New Mexico, or if you live in a beach or lakefront city. So that's Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold 4. With Android 12L, this is just a wonderful experience for a large format device like this. Not a whole lot negative you could say about it. The biggest hurdle obviously is the price point, but with all the deals, you really can get it at a much better cost. If you have any questions about the Z Fold 4 that I didn't answer in the video, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. I'll get to them. Love chatting with you. As always, I'm Tshaka Armstrong for Android Central. I will catch you on the next video.